Hey, beautiful, please consider subscribing to our channel if you've been enjoying these stories. Your support helps a lot. Aid us in reaching our goal of 1,000 subscribers.
The sound of sirens tore through the quiet morning, and I froze right there on my front lawn with a box in my hands. For a second, I thought someone had a medical emergency, maybe a fire down the block, but the cruisers didn't pass me. They stopped. Right in front of me, two officers stepped out slowly with hands near their belts, and serious eyes locked on me. One said, "Sir, step away from the property and place the box down." I blinked confused and sweat starting to bead under my collar. "I live here," I said. "This is my house." The officer didn't flinch. "Identification now and step back." I did as told. Set the box down, reached for my wallet, heart pounding like a drum in my chest. They took my ID and stood back by their vehicle while I stood. There on the lawn, feeling every neighbor's eyes behind their curtains, I knew I hadn't done anything wrong. I had the deed, the closing paperwork, the mortgage, still. There I was, being treated like a criminal in front of my own house. 10 minutes. Past 15. The officer returned and handed my ID back. "Someone called in a suspected burglary," he said. "Apparently the caller thought you were breaking in through the side garage door." I laughed, but it was hollow. "The garage door I own," he nodded slowly. "You check out, but next time maybe notify the HOA before you move in." I stared at him. I called 2 days ago. I even emailed the HOA board. He gave me a look like he didn't want to be there. Then walked back to the cruiser and left with the other officer. As soon as they were gone, I turned around and saw her. She stood on her pristine white porch, arms crossed, short blonde bob, stiff in the wind, like it was afraid to move, lips pursed, eyes squinting like she could see straight. "Through me? Is there a problem?" I called out. She didn't answer, just gave a little smirk and walked back inside. That was my introduction to Karen. 3 days earlier, I had been signing the final paperwork at the title office with my real estate agent, and feeling like the luckiest man alive. New house, new start. After the mess of my divorce and the loss of my father. This was my way forward. A quiet street, safe neighborhood. A real chance to rebuild. The house was a 2-story ranch style with a wraparound, porch, and a big oak tree in the front. It was the kind of place you imagine kids playing in the yard, barbecues on weekends, peace. That's what I was buying. Day one, I started moving in alone, just me and a rented truck full of boxes and furniture. I was sweaty, tired wearing an old hoodie and cargo pants. Nothing fancy. Just working clothes. I was halfway through unloading when I saw her the first time. She was standing across the street holding a clipboard. She stared for a long minute before, walking over. "Can I help you?" she asked. Not a greeting. More like an interrogation. "Nope, just moving in," I said and smiled. "This is my place now, finally," she frowned. "This house belongs to the Thompsons." "Not anymore," I said. "They sold it last month. I closed this week." She blinked twice and gave a tight smile. "We'll see about that." Then she walked off. No name, no welcome, nothing. At first, I thought maybe she was just nosy, one of those neighbors who kept track of whose grass was too long, but after the cops came, I realized it was more than that. The next morning, I found a yellow slip taped to my door, violation garbage bins visible from the street. Mind you, they were still empty, and inside the garage, it was like she knew the rules by heart and twisted them just enough to punish. I tried to brush it off. I had dealt with worse people before, but the signs were there. That smile, that look in her eyes when the cop handed me back my ID. It wasn't concern. It was victory. Later that evening, as I dragged my couch into the living room, I looked out the window and saw her again, standing on her lawn, staring clipboard in hand, like she was waiting for me to slip up again. I called my friend Marcus that night, told him what happened. "Man, you sure you moved into the right place?" He laughed. You got your own private neighborhood warden. I laughed too, but not because it was funny, because it was already wearing me down. The next morning, another slip violation grass, 1 inch too tall. I had been there 2 days. The grass hadn't changed since the day I arrived. That night I knocked on her door, tried to be civil. She opened it with the same smirk. Can I help you? I'm just trying to understand what's going on, I said. I moved, and I followed every protocol. I sent the HOA my notice, and you've called the cops on me, and now I'm getting fines. She tilted her head. HOA has standards to maintain. I'm not trying to break any rules, I'm just moving in. She leaned against the door frame. You don't seem like you belong here. What's that supposed to mean? She shrugged. Some neighborhoods have a look, a feel, a certain standard, or a certain skin tone, I said before I could stop myself. Her eyes narrowed. You can report me if you like, but the board will back me. You are the board, aren't you? She smiled. 3 of us on the board, and yes, I'm the president, and I take that responsibility very seriously. Then she closed the door in my face. I stood there for a full minute, heart pounding. Not with fear, but rage. It wasn't just about rules or lawns or garbage bins. It was personal. She didn't want me there. She had already decided I was the outsider. The next day, I found a neighbor across the street. Older man. Watering his lawn, he glanced around before speaking. You're the new guy, huh? Yeah, I guess I am. He looked toward Karen's house, then back at me. Just keep your head down and don't poke the bear. What's her deal? I asked. Power trip. She runs. The HOA, like it's her kingdom. We all just try to avoid making waves. You start pushing back, she'll bury you in violations. I've done nothing wrong, I said. He gave a sad smile. That won't matter to her. By nightfall, I had installed a camera. Over my door, I was tired of feeling watched. Tired of waiting for the next hit as I lay in bed that night. I stared at the ceiling, thinking about how excited I had been just days ago, and how quickly it turned sour. I wasn't going to let her bully me out of my home. But I knew if I was going to survive this, I needed more than pride. I needed a plan. And Karen, she had no idea what was coming. The next week felt like walking on a minefield. Every morning I opened my door expecting another violation slip. Sometimes there was 1, sometimes there were 2. Noise complaint at 3 in the afternoon. Improper paint color for the garage trim. That one was rich considering I hadn't painted anything. I documented everything. Took photos, kept a folder. Date stamped each piece of paper, then came the drone. It happened on a Wednesday. I was out back moving patio furniture when I heard the faint buzz. Looked up. There it was, a black drone hovering about 20 feet above my backyard. Watching, I stepped back under the porch, waved my arms, tried to swat at it with a broom. It drifted higher, out of reach, but still watching. 10 minutes later, flew back toward Karen's house. I followed on foot. Didn't even bother being discreet. As I rounded the hedge line, there she was, standing in her driveway holding the controller, looking smug. Really, I said, spying on my backyard now. It's legal. She said, HOA allows aerial assessments to ensure property code compliance. No, it doesn't. You just made that up. She smiled. Feel free to take it up with the board. I took out my phone, snapped a picture of her holding the controller. That's harassment. And you just documented it for me. Thanks. She dropped the controller into her bag and walked back inside. Not a word. That night, I called my cousin James. He was a civil rights attorney out in Dallas. Told him the story, sent him the photo. He didn't laugh. You have grounds, he said. Start documenting everything. We might be able to flip this on her, but you need patience. I had patience. I had a storm building inside me. She wanted me gone. But I wasn't going anywhere. The next morning, another yellow slip, obstruction of property line. Apparently, a lawn chair had been placed too close to the fence. That night, I saw her outside again, clipboard in hand, Writing something down by flashlight. I had a camera now. She didn't know it. Caught. Her walking onto my lawn, taking measurements, marking something on her little graph paper. That was it. I called the city requested property records, lot measurements, setback rules. Turned out Karen's own flower beds were violating the setback by a full 2 feet. Technically, her fence was 2. I smiled, but I didn't act yet. Not until the 4th police visit. It was a Saturday afternoon. I had friends over. Just 3 of us. Barbecue going music, playing low, suddenly blue lights again. This time, they knocked same officer from the first visit. He looked tired, embarrassed, noise complaint, he said. We could hear it from inside the cruiser, though, was barely audible. Karen stood across the street on her porch phone in hand, recording like she was proud of it. I invited the officer in, let him see the decibel meter on my phone. Proved the level was under city limit. He nodded. No citation. Just a warning. After he left, I waved to Karen. Big grin. She didn't wave back. I could feel the temperature rising. She was losing control. That Monday, I emailed the HOA, formally requested all prior violation records for my property, cited the HOA transparency clause. They had to comply. They sent back 12 years of archived records. Guess what? Karen had only been issuing these kinds of rapid-fire citations in the last 18 months. Ever since she became president, I saw a pattern. One family moved in new non-white, got hit with 23 violations in the first 2 months, moved out within the year. Same thing for another single mom 2 doors down, 15 violations. Sold within 8 months. Karen wasn't just petty. She was targeted. Deliberate. Now I had data proof, but that wasn't enough. I wanted more. I started talking to neighbors. Quiet conversations. At the mailbox, polite chit-chat at the grocery store. Every single one had a story. One said Karen fined him for hanging a flag that wasn't HOA approved. It was an American flag. Another told me Karen accused her son of loitering. He was in his own driveway. Playing basketball, it was like Karen had built her own little kingdom, run by fear and backed by bogus rules. So I did what she never expected. I ran for HOA board, sent the application in, put flyers on mailboxes, met neighbors, shook hands, smiled Karen, tried to block me. Claimed my paperwork was incomplete. Too bad I sent everything with certified mail, tracked, confirmed, time-stamped. Then I went to the local news, not the big ones. Just a small neighborhood paper told them I was a new homeowner facing what looked like a pattern of aggressive and possibly discriminatory enforcement by an HOA president. They printed it, page 3, nothing explosive, just enough to make Karen paranoid. She posted a 10-paragraph rant on the community forum, claimed people were trying to undermine the HOA, said standards must be preserved, mentioned me by name. Bad move. I took screenshots, sent them to James. He said she just opened the door wide. I was careful. Never responded, never commented back, just kept smiling. Mowing my lawn, trimming my bushes, making sure every tiny little visible item was perfect. She stopped the drone, but I noticed a new camera in her window, pointed right at my driveway. Didn't matter. I waved at it every morning. Election day came, neighbors actually came out. More than ever before, Karen stood at the table clipboard again, trying to talk people out of voting, but I was ready. I had printouts, a timeline, her record, her comments, her violations. I won by 2 votes, but it was enough. Now I was on the board, not the president. But I had a voice, and she hated it. She glared across the table during meetings, tried to interrupt me, tried to belittle me. Didn't work. I stayed calm, collected professional. Then I made my move, called a vote to audit all HOA complaints for the last 3 years, framed it as a standard transparency effort. It passed, barely. But it passed. Karen's face turned red. That night she posted again on the forum. More rants accused me of trying to destroy the community. She was, spiraling, unraveling, and I hadn't even shown my full hand yet. Because the audit was just the beginning. The audit was quiet at first. Just a line item on the board agenda. Mentioned in passing, Karen barely looked up when the firm was named. She probably thought it would be some local group she could influence. But it wasn't. James referred me to a firm that specialized in HOA governance audits, out-of-state independent licensed in the state, and completely unimpressed by Karen's theatrics. The team arrived with laptops and clipboards, started digging. They weren't loud, they didn't cause a scene. But within a week, the mood shifted. Karen stopped smiling at meetings, started showing up late, avoided small talk. The board could feel it. Something was coming. Meanwhile, I kept doing what I always did. Watered my lawn, waved to neighbors, picked up trash from the sidewalk, but Karen was losing it. She started patrolling the neighborhood with her little clipboard twice a day. Not once, twice. Knocking on doors, tapping windows, asking homeowners about their lawn height, garbage bins, house paint. It got creepy. One neighbor told me Karen threatened to fine them for having Halloween decorations up too long. It was November 1st. Another said she demanded they repaint their mailbox because the finish looked too glossy. Neighbors who never spoke to me before started stopping me at the mailbox. They were tired, they were scared, and most importantly, they were ready to talk. The audit finished in 3 weeks. What they found was worse than I imagined. Over 150 citations issued. In just under 2 years, 80% went to new homeowners. Of those, over half were people of color. Several violations cited non-existent rules. Some used language not found in the bylaws at all. Karen had been operating like a queen, rewriting the rules as she went. The audit report was scheduled to be presented at the monthly HOA meeting, open to all residents, posted in the community bulletin. Karen tried to delay it, filed a motion to table the report for another month, claimed the auditors were biased. Conflict of interest, improper jurisdiction. But I had read the bylaws twice, and we followed every rule, every deadline. The meeting went forward. That night, the clubhouse was packed. More people than I'd ever seen at a meeting. Neighbors filled every seat. Some stood in the back, phones out, recording. I opened the meeting with a welcome, introduced the audit team. Karen sat stiff in her chair, arms folded, jaw clenched. The lead auditor read the report. Monotone, precise, brutal, he explained. The trends, the inconsistencies, the fabricated violations. He even showed samples of citations with Karen's handwriting where she had literally made up infraction codes that didn't exist. You could hear a pin drop. Then came the financials. The HOA had collected thousands in fines, most from families that had already moved out. The funds were supposed to go to community improvements, but the ledger showed unusual expenditures: new office furniture, travel reimbursements, decorations for board, meetings all signed off by Karen. When he finished, there was silence, then a voice from the back, clear, firm. "She needs to go." Karen stood, slammed her folder onto the table. "This is a witch hunt. A personal attack. He moved in here to cause trouble. He doesn't respect the rules. He doesn't respect the community." She pointed at me, her face red, her voice trembling. This neighborhood used to be peaceful, orderly, and now it's being destroyed by outsiders. The room went cold. Someone stood up. Then another. Then 3 more voices rose. Questions fired. Why were we fined for flower pots? Why was my daughter told she couldn't ride her bike in our driveway? Why did you accuse my son of theft for taking a package off our own porch? Karen tried to talk over them, tried to restore order, but it was gone. One neighbor walked up, held up a citation for having wind chimes, asked Karen where in the bylaws that was written. Karen couldn't answer. The board called for a motion, a vote of no confidence. Karen objected. demanded it be delayed, claimed it was illegal without 30 days' notice. It wasn't. The bylaws said it could be called at any public board meeting. If quorum was met, and it was, the vote was taken, 5-2. Karen was removed as president. He stormed out, didn't say a word, just grabbed her bag and walked into the night, but it wasn't over. The board appointed an interim president, one of the quieter members, neutral, level-headed. I was made secretary, officially in charge of documentation, policy review, and homeowner communication. Karen went silent for 2 days. No messages, no patrols, no citations. Then she snapped. Sunday morning, 8:30. I was pulling weeds from the front flower bed, wearing headphones, minding my own business. Suddenly, sirens, blue lights again. But this time it was different. 2 police cruisers, 3 officers, one with a hand near his holster. I stood up slowly, took off my headphones. One officer approached, asked for my name. I told him. Sir, we received a call about a potential break-in. A homeowner reported someone loitering and tampering with property, matching your description. I laughed, shook my head. This is my house. I have the deed. My name is on the mailbox. Look, I'll show you. Karen was standing across, the street arms crossed, phone in hand, recording again. I waved at her. The officer followed me to the door. I unlocked it, showed my ID, showed the title framed on the hallway wall, even showed a utility bill. The officer nodded, apologized, said he had to respond when called. I understood they were doing their job, but Karen wasn't. I turned, pointed at her, still filming from the sidewalk. She's the one who called. Isn't she? The officer looked back. Didn't say yes, didn't have to. She's harassing me, filing false reports, abusing emergency services. He nodded slightly, said he'd file an incident report. Then they left. Karen stood there for a moment longer, then retreated inside. I stood alone on my porch, hands shaking. She had escalated, gone beyond fines, beyond drones. She was trying to use the police against me. I went inside, closed the blinds, sat at my desk, opened my folder, labeled it False Report 1, because I knew there would be more, but I also knew I was done playing nice. The gloves were off, and Karen was not ready for what came next. The following days felt like a war zone. I documented every move Karen made, filed complaints with the police, contacted the HOA lawyers. Every false call, every harassment text, every attempt to intimidate me. Neighbors started whispering, some dared, to approach me with quiet words of support. Others stayed behind closed doors watching the drama unfold. Karen was unraveling, her mask slipping. The queen who once ruled with iron fists now looked desperate and exposed. I decided it was time to fight. Fire with fire, but smarter. Not just with reports and lawyers, I needed a way to turn Karen's own weapon against her. Her obsession with control, her insatiable need for approval. Social media, I created a private community page for the neighborhood. Carefully invited every resident, shared the audit results, the violations, the financial misuse. The false police calls, I posted videos from the meetings, screenshots of Karen's texts. Even the incident report from the police people began to comment. Share their own stories, photos of ridiculous fines, stories of threats. One woman posted a video of Karen berating her for planting flowers outside the designated plot. The page quickly grew, and Karen noticed. She sent me a message through a neighbor, demanding I take it down, threatening legal action, claiming defamation. I just smiled. The truth was my shield, and I had plenty of it. Then I invited a local news reporter, one who specialized in community stories. I showed her everything, the documents, the videos, the testimonies. She smelled a story, a scandal brewing in a quiet neighborhood, one that would get clicks and views. 2 days later, the reporter came with a camera crew, filmed interviews with neighbors, captured Karen arriving at the clubhouse, her face tight with anger and frustration. The story aired the next evening. Local news, prime time. I watched at home. Neighbors texting me, cheering quietly as Karen's facade was exposed live on television. The headline read, HOA President Under Fire. For harassment and misuse of funds, Karen's phone never stopped ringing. Messages flooded in, friends and family started questioning. Even some board members called for her resignation. Then came the HOA emergency meeting, called specifically to address. The scandal Karen tried to defend herself claimed media bias, spun stories about enemies and conspiracies, but no one believed her anymore. The interim president made a motion to permanently remove Karen from all HOA duties, ban her from community, property, and demand full repayment of misused funds. The vote was unanimous. Karen's expression twisted. She stormed out again, but this time she was not the queen. She was the fallen ruler, humiliated and powerless. I stood with the neighbors. The weight of months of fear and anxiety lifting, people thanked me quietly. Some smiled with relief, others just nodded. I looked out at the quiet streets, the porch lights glowing warmly. For the first time since I moved in, I felt home weeks later. The neighborhood. Page became a space for community events, block parties, book clubs, kids playing safely. Karen tried to post a public apology on social media, but it was met with memes and jokes. Her face photoshopped into viral images, a crown slipping off her clipboard, turned into a jester's scepter. I laughed, not out of cruelty, but because justice had been served, not by force or violence, but by truth and community. And as for Karen, she moved away quietly. No drama, no goodbye, just a lesson, that power taken without. Respect will always be lost, and that sometimes even an HOA Karen can be taught a lesson by the very people she tried to control.